Spring is upon us in O'Fallon. The breeze is cool and the sun is warming. O'Fallon homeowners take great pride in their yards. We buy fertilizer, we buy seed, herbicide, lawnmowers, string trimmers, and other equipment in an effort to create the ideal lawn. A healthy summer lawn starts with spring yard maintenance.
Every spring I get asked by homeowners what they can do to get their yard ready for the upcoming year. And the first thing I talk about is crabgrass. And immediately the first response back is, I don't have any crabgrass. Well, it's probably true because crabgrass dies during the winter time. And the only way crabgrass comes back again in spring is by seeds that are left behind from last year's parent plants.
Preventing crabgrass is a piece of cake.
So what we need to do in the spring is break the cycle of the crabgrass coming back every year from seed. And we do that with a product that's called a crabgrass preventer. So if you go to the store and take a look, you want to find a fertilizer that also has crabgrass preventer on the label. Not crabgrass killer, because that's labeled for crabgrass that's already begun growing. What you're looking for is crabgrass preventer. And since cell division in plants only occurs at the tip, once you kill that tip, you've eliminated that little seed from establishing itself and giving you crabgrass in the upcoming summer. The problem is when you put down crabgrass preventer, the chemical doesn't know the difference between a crabgrass seed and a bluegrass or fescue or ryegrass seed. So spring is not the time to seed grass seed in your yard because you're preventing those seeds from growing. You can go back to August 25th as a time to plant your grass seed in your yard.
Spring is a perfect time to divide those hardy perennials.
If you have a perennial bed that is clumpy, starting to die back, take your spade and slice through the plant in a crisscross fashion before you dig it out of the ground. Then you can take your spade from the sides and pop out the pieces that you want, typically 2 of the 4, and then move them to another spot in your garden. It's an easy way to divide perennials without having a big mess.
Mulching is always a part of the spring yard checklist. So when is a good time to start mulching?
With a winter like we've had this last winter is very cold, to mulch early might keep the cold in the soil. You might be better off to wait a little bit if you can afford to let the soils warm up again before you lay that mulch layer down. So maybe mid-April might be better than mid-March.
Bob recommends pruning flowering shrubs and also has great tips when it comes to trimming those pesky overgrown trees.
Many flowering shrubs bloom in the spring, and a lot of questions come in is when should I prune flowering shrubs? And the best rule of thumb is when the shrub has finished its bloom time, go ahead and prune it. That way you're not sacrificing blooms for next year. And one last concern, many people want to trim trees. I'm not sure that tree trimming in the spring is the best idea because trees will tend to bleed heavily when you make a fresh cut in the springtime. You're better off waiting until that soft leaf tissue begins to harden up in the month of June or even July. And I don't really think that you're going to kill a tree by pruning it in the spring, but you may have a better choice of when to prune it later off into the summertime instead of in early April.
Remember to follow these tips and make sure that your lawn care equipment is maintained and ready to go for the summer.